Imagine waking up tomorrow with the same problems you have today. The same unfinished goals. The same uncertainty. The same difficult people. The same fears quietly waiting in the corners of your mind. Now imagine something else. This time, nothing around you has changed. But you have. Suddenly, those same problems no longer feel impossible. Those same fears no longer control your decisions. Those same obstacles no longer define your future. What changed? Not the world. Only the person looking at it. Most people spend their entire lives trying to rearrange their circumstances. They believe happiness lives inside the next promotion, the next relationship, the next achievement, the next version of life. But the Stoics believed something far more radical. The quality of your life is never determined by what happens around you. It is determined by the condition of the mind that experiences it. Marcus Aurelius ruled one of history's greatest empires, yet his greatest battle was never against invading armies. It was against discouragement, frustration, fear, and the endless distractions that quietly steal a person's peace. He understood something that modern life often forgets. A restless mind can turn comfort into misery. A disciplined mind can turn adversity into growth. Every day you are training your mind. Whether you realize it or not. Every thought you repeat. Every excuse you accept. Every fear you obey. Every challenge you avoid. Each one quietly shapes the person you're becoming. The frightening part is that this process happens automatically. The hopeful part is that it can also happen intentionally. The moment you become aware of what is shaping your mind, you regain the power to reshape your life. That is where every meaningful transformation begins. Not in your circumstances. Not in your bank account. Not in another person's approval. But in the silent conversations you have with yourself every single day.
Welcome to True Stoic Journal, the path to inner control.
Most people believe their biggest enemy is failure. The Stoics would disagree. Failure is temporary. An undisciplined mind can imprison someone for decades. Think about how many opportunities disappear before they even begin. Not because they were impossible. Because fear quietly whispered, "You're not ready." How many dreams have been abandoned because doubt sounded more convincing than courage? How many meaningful conversations never happened because anxiety predicted rejection before a single word was spoken? The human mind possesses an extraordinary gift. It can imagine the future. But without discipline, that gift becomes a burden. Instead of creating possibilities, it creates imaginary disasters. Instead of preparing for success, it rehearses defeat. Epictetus warned that people are disturbed less by events than by the opinions they form about those events. That sentence contains an entire philosophy. Two people lose the same opportunity. One decides life has treated them unfairly. The other decides life has given them another lesson. The event is identical. The future becomes completely different. Because interpretation determines direction. Your mind is always telling a story. The question is that story helping you grow? Or convincing you to remain exactly where you are? I remember speaking with a man who had failed in business several times. Most people expected bitterness. Instead, he smiled and said, "Every mistake removed another illusion about who I needed to become." That perspective fascinated me. He didn't deny the pain. He simply refused to let pain become the author of his identity. That is emotional discipline. Not pretending everything is easy. Choosing not to become smaller because life became difficult. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that every obstacle carries two possibilities. It can become a reason to surrender, or it can become material for building character. The obstacle itself never decides. Your response always does. Another truth changed the way I viewed my own thoughts forever. Most people assume every thought deserves attention. It doesn't. Imagine allowing every stranger who knocked on your front door to move into your house. You wouldn't do it. Then why allow every fearful thought to move permanently into your mind? Thoughts arrive constantly. Some encourage wisdom. Others encourage insecurity. Some inspire action. Others create hesitation. The Stoics understood that wisdom begins when you stop believing every thought simply because it appears. A negative thought is not reality. It is only a suggestion. The problem begins when suggestions quietly become beliefs. Fear repeated often enough becomes expectation. Doubt repeated often enough becomes identity. Excuses repeated often enough become personality. Without noticing, people slowly become the stories they've repeated to themselves for years. That's why mental discipline matters so much. It isn't about eliminating negative thinking. It's about refusing to give unhealthy thoughts permanent authority. Seneca believed the greatest waste of human energy comes from suffering in imagination rather than reality. Think about that carefully. How much of your exhaustion today comes from things that have not actually happened? How many arguments exist only inside your head? How many failures have you experienced before taking the first step? Your imagination is an extraordinary servant. But it becomes a dangerous master. The moment you learn to observe your thoughts instead of automatically obeying them, something remarkable begins happening. Your mind becomes quieter. Your decisions become clearer. Your confidence stops depending upon perfect circumstances. Instead, it begins growing from something far more reliable. Your ability to remain steady, regardless of what life places in front of you. There comes a moment when every person discovers that knowledge alone is never enough. You can read every book on discipline. Listen to every inspiring speech. Understand every Stoic principle. Yet when life becomes difficult, only one question truly matters. Have you practiced what you claim to believe? The Stoics knew that wisdom is never measured by information. It is measured by action. A person does not become patient by admiring patience. They become patient by choosing calm when frustration feels easier. They do not become courageous by talking about bravery. They become courageous the moment they move forward while fear is still whispering reasons to stop. That is why character is built quietly. One decision at a time. One promise kept. One excuse refused. Day after day. Most people underestimate the power of these ordinary moments because they expect transformation to feel dramatic. In reality, lasting change usually feels almost invisible. You wake up a little earlier. You keep one commitment to yourself. You resist one unnecessary distraction. None of those choices seem extraordinary. But together they begin shaping a completely different person. Confidence grows the same way. Many believe confidence comes before action. The Stoics understood the opposite. Action creates confidence. Each time you face discomfort instead of avoiding it, your mind collects evidence that you are stronger than your fear. Slowly, doubt begins losing its authority. Not because fear disappears, but because courage becomes more familiar. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that obstacles are not interruptions to life. They are part of life. Every delay teaches patience. Every disappointment tests perspective. Every unexpected challenge asks a simple question. Asterisk, will this make you bitter, or better? Asterisk, the answer never belongs to circumstances. It belongs to you. This is why two people can experience the same setback and leave with completely different futures. One carries resentment. The other carries wisdom. The difference isn't luck. It's interpretation. Meaning shapes experience. When every obstacle is treated as proof that life is unfair, hope slowly disappears. But when difficulty becomes training, growth quietly begins. Another lesson took me years to understand. Your mind becomes whatever it repeatedly practices. Practice comparison. And comparison becomes automatic. Practice gratitude. And gratitude becomes natural. Practice excuses. And responsibility feels uncomfortable. The mind always returns to the patterns it knows best. That is why your daily thoughts matter far more than occasional moments of motivation. One disciplined day may not change your life. 100 disciplined days certainly will. The same is true for self-respect. It isn't built by achieving one great success. It is built every time you keep your word when nobody is watching. Every private victory strengthens the relationship you have with yourself. And eventually, that relationship becomes stronger than the opinions of other people. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be days when progress feels painfully slow. The Stoics never promised an easy path. They promised something far more valuable. That every challenge gives you another opportunity to practice wisdom. Not someday. Today. Not when life becomes easier. While life remains difficult. That shift changes everything. Instead of asking, asterisk, when will life finally improve? Asterisk, you begin asking, asterisk, how can I improve within this moment? Asterisk, that question returns your power. Because the present is the only place where action is possible. Yesterday can teach you. Tomorrow can inspire you. But only today can transform you. As this way of thinking becomes part of your life, something remarkable happens. You stop measuring yourself by temporary victories and temporary failures. You begin measuring yourself by consistency. By integrity. By the promises you continue keeping even when no one else notices. That is the foundation of genuine inner peace. A peace that isn't dependent on praise. A confidence that isn't destroyed by criticism. A purpose that remains steady even when the road ahead is uncertain. Life will continue testing you. Unexpected problems will appear. Plans will change. People will disappoint you. Those realities are unavoidable. But your response will always remain your greatest freedom. The stronger your principles become, the less control circumstances have over your peace. And that is the quiet victory every Stoic pursued. Not a perfect life. A disciplined mind capable of meeting any life. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who is striving to become stronger from within, and subscribe to True Stoic Journal for more timeless lessons on wisdom, resilience, discipline, and self-mastery. Remember this asterisk, your future is not decided by the obstacles standing before you. It is decided by the character you build while walking through them. Master your mind, remain faithful to your principles, and every challenge will become another step toward the person you were meant to become.